This podcast is brought to you by Most Valuable Podcasts, leading the league in podcasting entertainment.
Hello, football fans, and welcome to the Onside Kick. My name is Ricky Widmer, and as always, I'm joined by the Mark Weber.
Of them Eve.
And you may be thinking to yourself, Ricky, things sound a little bit different than usual. Mark sounds a little bit different. That's because, just like I want to say it was a few weeks ago, Mark, we had you calling in on the MVP hotline, and here you are again.
I think a couple.
It was
a busy time.
It was when we had the Brock Osweiler signing in Houston. That was the podcast. That was the podcast we had you calling in. But we got a jam-packed show today. Going to be talking about the 49ers yet again. Could they be in the mix to trade up to number one in the NFL draft? Going to be talking about the Broncos. Could they have a new quarterback at the helm of their team? And then we're going to be getting into the Patriots and whether or not they should trade back into the first round that Roger Goodell stole them out of. But Mark, we're going to start in San Fran. And right now it is said that the Titans are 50-50 whether or not they are going to trade or keep their first overall pick. However, Bleacher Report today, I believe, had a little snippet, a little latest buzz out there that the 49ers, two sources are saying that the 49ers could be one of the teams to go ahead and trade with the Titans for that number one overall pick.
Well, not that the world is very high on Colin Kaepernick, but I'd say especially with the also, discussion that he's going to be possibly going to Denver if they can get that money situation to work out. It kind of makes sense because if you're the 49ers, what do you have? You got Blaine Gabbert. And I know somebody dared to try and say that Blaine Gabbert's a good quarterback. But Blaine Gabbert's not a very good quarterback. He is a average backup. He's not going to completely derail a team, but you're not feeling good if you're Chip Kelly and Blaine Gabbert's your quarterback. So, yeah, sure, I can see them possibly doing that. But here's the problem if you're San Francisco and you're going to go ahead and you're going to trade the farm, essentially, in order to have your pick of Goff or Wentz. One, neither one of these quarterbacks is Andrew Luck. They are not ready to come in and take the world by storm. I can be proven wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure I won't be. Number two, San Francisco is a team that needs pretty much everything. They're in as much of a rebuild as you really can be. And to then go and trade this year's first round, probably next year's first round, good chance the year after that's first round, to do all of this and to lose out on that much talent, it really hurts your team. And I don't, like I said, it's not Andrew Luck out there. This isn't the next Tom Brady, the next, we assume at least, the next Peyton Manning, the next Aaron Rodgers. So I don't think it's worth it. If you're gonna, if you're gonna somehow trade and get Aaron Rodgers, then yeah, this is fantastic. Go ahead and do it. But this is not a sure thing. And it's just not worth all the talent, all the young top talent that you're gonna miss out on to have your choice of 1 and 2 because you're gonna get the other one anyway.
Well, the whole thing is, and the whole kind of idea is whoever trades with the Titans is exactly what you said. Whoever trades with the Titans is going to get that number one pick to draft a quarterback to jump in front of the Cleveland Browns. But here, I'm going to throw something out there, and this isn't something that's been reported. This isn't something that sources are saying. I am throwing this out there as if we were on the fast break, Sean and Dave would call this 2K Ricky. I guess you can call this Madden Ricky for the sake of the NFL podcast. But do we see a chance that the 49ers try to do a Kaepernick for Mariota and the first overall pick? to where they try to finagle it to where, okay, we'll give you Colin Kaepernick and we get Marcus Mariota, because we all know how much Chip Kelly wanted to throw the farm at the Titans last year just to get Marcus Mariota in the draft. I mean, would I do that? Would I do Mariota in the first round pick for like Kaepernick and some other people? No, not a chance, because to me, Kaepernick isn't even worth, like, Kaepernick to me isn't even worth the number 1 overall pick, let alone Mariota and the number 1 pick. And I mean, really the trade would have to be Kaepernick in the 7th for Mariota, and well, Kaepernick the 7th and more for Mariota in the 1st alone. And I don't think the Niners have enough just to make that trade plausible. But to me, if I'm the Niners, that's the end game, to get Marcus Mariota.
Ricky, unfortunately, we're on the phone right now. I wish you could see my face to you even mentioning that trade. If anything, the San Francisco 49ers would have to give up their first-round pick this year and then some just to Marcus Mariota, because Marcus Mariota was the 2nd overall pick last year. You don't get to have the 2nd overall pick last year, who did fine at quarterback, and then also get the 1st overall pick. That's just impossible. I mean, you would have to trade your next, 60 years of first-round picks to make something like that happen. Exaggerating a little bit, but
Chip Kelly would do. Chip Kelly would do it, though. He'd do it.
I don't doubt that at some point Chip Kelly was on that phone call being like, by the way, humor me. What would it take to get Marcus Mariota? And then the Titans said, you can't. He's not there. He's not available. It's just, no. I mean, that idea, I'm sure Chip Kelly would love it. I'm sure he's dreaming about it every night, but it's not going to happen, because Mariota is a quarterback that fits. This is another reason why I don't like this San Francisco trade for a quarterback, because neither one of these quarterbacks fit what Chip Kelly does. It's going to be, I mean, yeah, he tried to do more with pocket passing in the NFL compared to what he did in college. But you would assume that Chip Kelly would like something that he's more comfortable with, that he's more familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
He's proven to not be that great with these pocket passers. It hasn't worked out that well. It hasn't been awful. It hasn't been terrible. I don't want to give that, perception. But it hasn't been very good either. It's just been pretty average, minus that time where, Nick Foles came in and proved that he is as good as Peyton Manning. Besides that, it hasn't been anything that impressive. Now, I don't really – there's nothing else they could be trading up for besides quarterback, because at 7 you're still going to get quality talent. And with the 49ers having literally every need, it's not, it's just not something that's worth doing besides the quarterback. The only team that could possibly throw a wrench in the 49ers' plan to draft a quarterback, and this is the only reason why they would possibly need to get one, would be the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys are the only team that are showing interest in quarterbacks and kind of sort of have a need, not now, but they have a need for a guy they can develop.
And Jerry Jones is crazy enough to do anything.
Yeah, and really that's what these two quarterbacks are. They're not plug and play.
Mm-hmm.
These are guys that really should have time to develop. So that's the only thing. At, what is it, number 5 that they have?
No, 4. 4.
So they got the 4th overall pick. That's the only team that could throw a wrench in that plan. But I have to think that someone out there is going to stop Jerry Jones and say, please don't draft the quarterback right now. We still have plenty of years left in Tony Romo. Let's use this let's use the best pick we've had in a long time, the 4th overall.
Mm-hmm.
Let's use it on something that's going to really help the team now. Because we want to win a Super Bowl now. It's been a long time since we won a Super Bowl.
Yeah, and I mean, I want to get back to because the Cowboys, to me, that's one of those things where Jerry Jones is crazy enough to do it, but will they do it? Probably not, because I'm assuming somebody in that kind of war rumor in that front office is going to say, hey, don't be stupid. But back to the Niners, what you were saying about Chip Kelly, about the quarterback of just you haven't had success with these pocket passers. Why not go with a guy that can be more mobile? The only way you make this trade for the first overall pick is if you feel that, hey, you know what? This Goff guy, he may have gone against some more superior competition to Carson Wentz, but he fits the style that I can work with better. He's a more athletic quarterback who, to me, after watching his film, I kind of see him as kind of what Big Ben could be. That kind of like, he's not just a guy who is going to stay there in the pocket, read the field, make the pass. He's a guy that is either going to use his legs to extend the play to throw downfield, or he could be a guy that could use his legs to run with the football, and he's not going to run in the same kind of sense as a Kaepernick or a Russell Wilson, or even way, way back, and I'm dating myself by saying this, like a Michael Vick. He's a guy, Wentz, that is more of a Big Ben type of runner with that kind of bigger body, using it to get a little bit more yardage. And if you're Chip Kelly, if you're sitting there thinking, you know what, Wentz is more the mobile guy to me than Goff, I can work better with him, that's when you go ahead and make this trade.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't see the value in this trade, especially for how much you got to give up. I mean, we got to always remember, I think it was just maybe 2 weeks ago or last week that we were talking about the second pick, somebody trading with the Browns. And we talked about, remember, what happened the last time we had the second pick go with the RG3 trade and how much needed to be traded for that to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And the Titans aren't dumb. They haven't forgotten what was given up then. They're going to ask for that, if not more. I mean, you would think they're asking for more. They should ask for more. But they're going to at least get the Rams, Redskins deal. They're not going to give up anything less than that. And for a team that's rebuilding, it just doesn't make sense. You think about some of the other teams that might happen. The reason I really do mention the Cowboys, though, because some people are saying, well, they're 4, so maybe they want that guy, and they're going to trade above the Browns too. Because they're a team that actually is good enough to where they could, I know they are 4th overall, but good enough where they can afford to lose out on a couple of the top talent in some drafts.
Well, and
this is a team that was just almost going to the Super Bowl.
Well, and plus the one thing you got to look at, if you're Dallas or a Titan fan, of, hey, what can Dallas kind of give to me? What's the one thing that, besides Jalen Ramsey, what's the one position everyone's talking about the Titans drafting at number 1 overall? Offensive line help. And who's got one of the better offensive lines in the league? And that's the Dallas Cowboys. It's one of the reasons why we were saying DeMarco Murray had so much success with this team. Maybe that's the deal where it's like, hey, give us a couple of your offensive linemen. We'll give you the first overall pick in the draft. That could be something that moving forward is like, maybe that's the main thing of it, of like, okay, we need something that's going to help us, because it was like, I'm looking at an article from early to mid-March from ProFootballTalk.com, and the headline was simple: Titans GM wants King's ransom for first overall pick. These guys aren't just going to give it away. It's exactly like you said, Mark. They know what the Rams got for the second overall pick when RG3 and Andrew Luck was coming out. So they're going to want a lot. They're going to want a ton of players for the number 1.
Exactly. And, there's various articles out there talking about what teams could possibly trade it. All of them, I think, are way undervaluing what the first overall pick in a draft is worth.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you don't even really need to pull out the chart. My favorite chart in the world that gives point values to everything, unless you really see what people are evaluating these picks for. All you got to do is look at that Rams Redskins trade. Look at that, and the only teams really, because remember we're at the very top of the draft. There's nothing but bad teams up here. So you look at some of those teams that are available. It's going to be too much for the Rams to go from 15-1. Too much for the Eagles really to go from 8-1. I still think it's too much for the 49ers to go from 7-1. You got to look at teams. If anyone could possibly do anything, you have to look at teams that can afford to miss out on 2, possibly even 3 years of top young talent. The only teams that can possibly pull that off are the Cowboys, and I hate to say this next one. I absolutely hate to say it, but they could afford to miss out on some young talent because of their situation. That's number 11, the Chicago Bears.
Really?
They could afford to do it too. The only reason I say that is because the team knows they're in a rebuild. And the quarterback, after a couple of years you're going to lose Jay. Jay Cutler's not your quarterback in a couple of years, so you're going to be rebuilding. Do I think it's a smart move? Do I think it's even on Ryan Pace's mind? No. No to either one of those things. But it's a team that's in a position to where they can do it. If you have the 49ers, they're just going to expand their rebuild. At least like a team with the Bears, they're saying, hey, we're in a rebuild, but we're going to probably be in another rebuild in like 2 years when we lose our quarterback. At least in the Cowboys situation, they're saying, hey, we have enough talent right now that I guess we can afford to lose out on some of these younger guys because we want to make sure that we can keep this going later on, that we can just switch, from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers.
Mm-hmm.
We can just switch from Tony Romo to Carson Wentz, whatever it might be.
Well, and I mean, to me, it would be more iconic to have Goff as your backup if you're going to make the Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers kind of comparison, because Aaron Rodgers is a Cal alum himself. But to me, what I was going to say when I was cutting you off a little bit was, I feel like in a couple weeks, as we get closer and closer to draft night, draft day, whatever you want to call it, I feel like this conversation is going to be moot, because I feel like when we get to the first round of the draft that night, that Thursday night, the Titans are going to make this pick. They are going to be the ones in control of this pick. They're going to make it. It's most likely going to be Jalen Ramsey or Laramie Tunsil. Me personally, I lean towards Ramsey, but it's going to be one of those two guys. The Titans make the pick. NFL.com can have rankings that show the Niners at number 1, the Browns at number 2, Rams and Eagles at 4 and 5, and your Cowboys at 3. But I just feel like in the end, the Titans are going to end up making this pick because nobody's going to pull the trigger on it.
Yeah, it's too hard to do. I mean, we see it with everything that, I hate to keep going back to it, but everything that the Redskins gave up and where that team is now. It just goes to show you that if it doesn't work out, you are not going to be in a good situation. You're not in a good position. And, I'm actually surprised when I mentioned the Bears, you didn't bring up the Jay Cutler trade.
I wasn't going to bring up the trade. Because
it just goes to show you what missing out on a few years, because the Chicago Bears, they missed out on a few years of that top young talent.
Yeah.
And then they also missed out, they swung and they missed on so much mid-round talent. So the team just fell apart.
Well, I mean, Phil Emery wasn't the best either.
Well, yeah, Phil Emery wasn't the best, but Kerry Angelo is the reason why I keep going.
Yeah.
The GM before the GM, who's the GM before we have now.
He also made the trade. He made the trade that sent Greg Olsen to the Panthers, right?
Correct. Yeah, and he's the guy that obviously traded for Jay Cutler.
Yeah.
It just goes to show you, when you make a big trade like that, whether it's RG3, the second overall pick, whether it's a big name quarterback like Jay Cutler, when you make one of these trades, you have to hit on Like, it adds so much pressure to the GM and the scouts because they have to hit on every single pick because they're limited. If you limit your team to 6 or 5 picks in the draft, you cannot afford to miss on a single one of those guys. Because if you do, you just set yourself back a year. You set yourself back 2 years because you don't have the same level of new talent that all the other teams have. And that's what's going to make you come back into the draft the next year, the year after that, a few years down the line, and be at the very top picking another young talent or young quarterback again.